Welcome back to Prof E Plays. I'm Prof E, and we're picking up here with Cepheus Universal with the story of Wilbur Orla and his friends. Um, Now I'm going to do a little bit of review here in terms of kind of where we are and kind of what the general direction is that we're going. And in large part, this is for me because here's the reality of things: you get these episodes on a regular basis. I do not record these episodes on a regular basis. And so I try to time things out so they come in regular intervals. But the reality is, when I look at my notes, my notes say very clearly on my last session was 3 weeks before the one that I'm recording now. So it has been a bit. It has been a bit. Um, right. So yeah, kind of what happened here. Like I had like a segment of time where the regular school year was over, so I was kind of out of my normal schedule, a- and my summer courses hadn't picked up yet, so I could do lots of recording within that time. Particularly if like my kids were busy with things, then I could do lots of recording. I would record on a regular basis. But then something very important happened, and that is that I started teaching an additional summer class. And so I have two summer classes I'm teaching this year. One of them is an online class, uh, which is asynchronous. We don't even meet. It's just one of those where like I send out announcements. I have a bunch of pre-recorded lectures that students watch, allegedly, and then they do assignments. Now, the other summer course that I'm teaching, this is very new to me, is actually in a prison. Right, so we have through my employer, we offer an associate's program through one of the prisons, and not terribly far from where I am. It's so this is my first time being part of that because they needed one of the courses that I teach, and so I was the one that said yes. I was willing to teach it. Right, so that has involved some significant time, um, and also energy as well. So as a result, there's been a big gap. Fortunately, I had recorded enough before the beginning of this second class that it was fine. We haven't seen a big interruption. There may be an interruption coming, though, because for me, part of the summer, after my classes are over, then we start traveling, and so it's going to be real spotty. So I'll see if I can manage to get enough recorded before like, the travel starts and amidst the travel happening. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, whether there are gaps or not. In any case, reviewing because I need the review. That's the point. All right, so let's come down to it. So last mission was really unusual, right, in that we ended up right making contact right with Emerson Bryant and company. Remember, like Emerson Bryant was who we designed to be kind of one of the big bads in this universe. It turns out we might end up actually working for him instead. Yeah, things don't always go as you expect, I suppose. All right, so and things often don't go as you expect. That's the joy of doing this. That's why it's not just creative writing, right? Anyway, so my notes say here's where we are. Like one, I took the money we made from the last mission and we spent enough money for us to have covered the cost of living for a month, right? So we are good to go for the next month of game time. Another thing that we know is we are still seeking out Charles. That is, remember, Hazel's goal to find her friend and ex-lover Charles. We still need a ship, so that is part of the process of what we were playing through the playing solo classic traveler. The next step would be to get a ship. We have not yet done that, and we've noted before that this is going to be kind of tricky because nobody in our party actually has much ability to operate a ship. We we don't have anybody with engineering. We don't have anybody with any kind of piloting skills or anything like that. We have a significant amount of navigation available. Specifically Hazel. Hazel is quite good as a navigator. But however, that's probably by itself not going to be enough to cut it. Right? You need to do more than just be able to navigate. Right? So that means we're probably going to have to acquire some additional crew members, perhaps. We also have to have some way of getting this ship. Because we clearly don't have enough money saved up for a ship. So it's probably going to have to be given to us by a patron or loaned to us by a patron or in some way connected with one of the jobs we're going to do. Right. So that is something that we'll have to think about. And we now have regular contact with Emerson Bryant's organization. Now, apparently, Hazel was offered a job but refused it, is what my note says. However, would be willing to potentially be a and effectively a freelancer, right, for that organization. Right. So I guess we're going to see what happens. It's always what we do, right? Another thing that I don't think that I've talked about before, which I did want to mention, so something that I want to start incorporating here. It's a was an article that came out a couple of issues ago in Cepheus Journal, which is a free fan-made zine that you can get. Search for Cepheus Journal, you can find it. And they have some really interesting articles. This one came out from it's Les Hendricks was who wrote this. Right. And what it's all about, it's a system for developing cultural flavor for a planet. Right. So you get both cultural and social characteristics. So just to kind of flesh this out a little bit, the cultural characteristics, that is, how conformist is your culture, how honest, how innovative, what kind of level of responsibility do you have? Are you generally responsible? That kind of thing. How peaceful are you, and how tolerant are you? Then we also use these things once those are determined, to also figure out how much unity is there within your society, how productive or competitive is your society, and then finally, how much does your society rely on kind of diplomacy and that kind of thing, right? So, and these can in turn give modifiers if it would be relevant to any of the roles we make. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun here on Masoyama. Let's go ahead and develop their culture a little bit. So just to share that information with you, since I created it, you tuned in. So there we go. So here's what we've got. So when I rolled it up, these are the descriptions. It is individualist, right? So that means a little bit against conformity, which I thought was interesting given that it has such a high law level. I mean, it's an outrageously high law level, right? So I guess that tells me that culturally they allow some significant diversity, but but whatever is the law, and people are expected to follow it. And also, okay, they have an impersonal bureaucracy as well. So it tells us it's not just like some dictator's vision that's being followed. There's a set of rules that people are expected to follow. It is fair, which is just kind of a middling result. It's unimaginative, right? So that's where that comes in. So while we are more individualistic, we allow personal freedom of expression. At the same time, we're not a very creative society. Prudent, agreeable, aloof. So these are all kind of middling levels as well. It has a shared level of value. So in terms of national, in terms of planetary unity, it's not super high, not super low. Same thing in terms of its diplomaticness, right? Structure is on the defensive side, which again, that's just the middle result you'd expect to be most common. However, the thing that does stand out is they are more efficient than average. So, really, there are three social or cultural characteristics that stand out about this place. One is that it's unusually individualistic, not outrageously so, but unusually so. It's unusually unimaginative and also unusually efficient. So it's those three things combined. So it's not very innovative, but whatever they produce with great efficiency. So this really, in my mind, feels like, from an economic standpoint, it's kind of a managerial society. Right? So we're not going to be coming up with great new ideas, but what we do, right, we do well. Right? And we don't much care, right, what you do in your personal life, so long as you do your job. Right? That's where the individualism would come in. So that's kind of gives a little bit more flavor for um, the context. All right. So I will be incorporating that more as we are checking out these various places we may be visiting throughout the subsector in which we are operating. Okay, so let's get back to our campaign travelers. This is the just the couple pages that I printed out from the solo supplement coming from Zozer Games. All right. So let's see. Moving through our checklist, we're not currently thinking about jumping from world to world. We're instead just operating on planet. So as each week roll on the world encounters table. So I think that's what we'll need to do, isn't it? All right. Where's my world encounters table? Here it is. Excellent. All right. So world encounters. It's like a 14 to me. So I'm just gonna write here encounter 14, which is a political coup or revolution causes chaos for travel, security, and trade. Well, that's an encounter, I'll tell you. So political revolution causes chaos. So I think I need to know more about this. Because after all, this is a super high law society, so it's not really clear to me how such a thing is happening. Right? When, like, the way I'm imagining is that the society is extremely dictatorial. Um, right? So I'm having a hard time imagining how the revolution is even going to occur. Right? Or, like, okay, a coup might be somewhat more imaginable, but I think that I need some additional inspiration here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pull out here an inspiration table. All right, so what's the inspiration I need? Okay. I want to know about who are these revolutionaries? I think that makes some degree of sense. So I think I'm going to roll two things. One, I'm going to roll about urban. So that would give us some sense maybe of where things are happening or how things are happening. I'm going to roll on the urban table. And then I think I'm going to roll on the personality table. So that'll give us a sense of kind of the feeling of how this is happening. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. Right, so I'm going to roll this as a 24 here. Right, so we've got 24. 24 is, so inspiration. The urban, it's drone. Now, drone, of course, has several different meanings that we could apply to it from just like, like this could be workers that feel kind of disaffected, right? It's a highly efficient society. So it might be that, these are people that just don't like the fact that they're working for, um, you know, organizations that don't seem to value them. That could be, or it could be like mechanical drones, like flying around. That could also be possible. So we'll see what comes next. A personality. All right, we're gonna do this also as a 14 here. Talented. All right, I kind of want one more. I want one more. So let's do action. 21. Assault. All right, so these are the three words that I've got. I've got drone, talented, and assault. To me, that says this is a mechanical thing. It is. Now, okay, so here's the question. This is a fairly high-tech world. We know that. When I look at the tech level, let me just pull this out. Yeah, so it's a high-tech level. Definitely, it's a tech level 13. It is, I believe, the highest tech world that is in this subsector. So in my mind, that means it's totally believable. Yeah, like it is far and away the highest tech. I'm the next lowest, like the next one down is a 9, right? Of at least of the places that we have defined at this point, right? So yeah, yeah. Here's what I'm imagining. This is a robot uprising. Is what I'm thinking. Right, so I want to test that. I'm gonna test that. I think that feels likely to me, right? That this may be what it actually is, that it's a robot uprising. So let's go ahead and check that. I'm gonna roll this as likely, so I'm gonna take the higher of these results. So is it a robot uprising? Four indicates yes, but right. So it is a robot uprising. And with how many things might be automated here, that could be enormously disruptive. It's very easy, right, to imagine that being horrifically disruptive here, right? So, okay, right, so I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this. I think. Right, so we have robot uprising. It's robots, but and the obvious but here would be that it's not only robots, right? There are in effect there are some human robot rights activists, right? But also includes. Okay, so that's what I'm imagining here, right? So we have this world. Things looked like they were going pretty well, but then this week something sparked this problem. Well, I suspect if there are activists around, so there's a problem that it didn't just come out of nowhere, right? So underneath the surface of all of this, there has been this drive, right, for robot rights. Um, right. So now the question is this something that our people are going to be affected by in any kind of direct way? One thing that's really important to remember that I just keep forgetting about is that we have a robot. Yeah, we do. We do. Doesn't like Wilbur had a whole bunch of money, so I had him buy a robot. His name is London 47. And I decided that he should be like a bodyguard kind of robot. The problem though being um that he has no skills related to combat. He's a very bad, very absolutely awful bodyguard as far as that goes. But nonetheless, he exists and is a bodyguard unit purchased when he left his career, right, with Crixus Operations being the mining company that he had been working at. Right, so and he does have a laser rifle integrated with him. So this is something that I need to know then. Right, so this is going on. Like, does London join up, right, with these robot right activists? And like with all of this, because this could take a very different turn. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. So does he? Uh, I'm not going to say this is likely or unlikely. I'm just going to roll it. Three is a no, but okay. Right. So London is staying true to us. So I think I'm just going to leave it as a no. I don't want to go too many layers of buts here. Right. So it includes robot right activists. It does not include London 47, who is apparently perfectly content. So what I want to know, so I'm using some of the tools here from Solo. So one of the questions is, um, in terms of like quality, there's the kind of ask the D6 thing, right? So I'm just wondering how widespread this is, right? So is it something that's just disruptive locally, or is this something where like these robots have been chatting with each other over the interwebs and it's much more organized, right? So are we talking about we have a Skynet problem? It's been a while since I've seen those movies. All right, so three gives us a sense of the scale, right? So that tells me three is large, right? But it's not like a six. It's not worldwide, right? So I think it is perhaps major cities are experiencing this, but not necessarily all of them. Right, so I think Masuyama is probably experiencing a lot of this, but not necessarily everywhere. Right, so I'm going to say this is it's somewhat localized. It strikes the major city. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm imagining at this point. All right, so that is the situation in which we find ourselves. So I'm thinking this is something where I can't imagine, given that London is not directly involved with this, I can't imagine that we are going to seek out getting involved with this. So I think we're going to try be doing our best to just stay out of the way of this, if at all possible. But nonetheless, this is the background of what is going to be happening in our mission, whatever it happens to be that we decide to do. So let's go ahead and figure out what that mission is by pulling out our patron tables. Okay, so traveler campaigns. The first thing we had to do was Roll on the world encounters table. Yes. Then we roll for patrons, enemies, or colorful locals as directed. We weren't specifically directed to look for patrons, uh, or to roll for patrons, but I'm here somewhat going to be um, appealing to the structure that was in the old solo booklet that we were using, which suggested you just kind of have patrons happen. Right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to have happen. Right, so let's check our patron. So who's our patron this time? All right, 33. It's a merchant. All right, mission 11. Explore a moon or asteroid. Okay, and then what's the focus? 51. Crime gang. Okay, so this is kind of an odd one. So we're exploring a moon or asteroid related to a crime gang. So here's what I'm imagining is happening, right? So I think crime gang, it would not be unreasonable to interpret that as pirates, right? So what is happening here is that there's a particular merchant who has been having problems with some pirates along whatever this path happens to be, right? Wherever their trade route is that they would typically frequent. Uh, and they have a problem that there are pirates that are attacking them, and they believe, right, that they are on a particular moon, an asteroid somewhere, some kind of small body. So I think that that's what we want to do. This might actually be a good time for us to get a ship done, right? So I think that that might be what we're going to do here with this session. We're going to figure out what kind of ship we got. As this merchant is then going to be providing it to us, right, so that we can then go and try to deal with this problem. That's what I'm imagining here. Right, so, uh, hmm. So, ship design time. Maybe that's what we should do with this session. Let's design the ship. Sure. All right, so let's go dig out my Cepheus Universal stuff. Then I can be ready for designing a ship. I'm not necessarily going to do the whole floor plan. I know there are people that like to do floor plans. Uh, I haven't played around with it enough yet, to be perfectly honest. Feel like I'd want to play around with it more uh, before I commit too much on that. All right. So, the purpose of this ship, that's the first thing that I think we need to figure out, is that, okay, so the merchant will provide us a ship for this purpose. Now, I think it's really a scouting mission, is what we have here. We're not being expected to like take these people out or anything like that. We just want to identify, are they actually there or not? Right? So provide a ship right for this purpose, that is for scouting. For scouting exploration or something like that. Now, when I look here, in terms of what is available already, um, yeah. So there's a list of typical ships here that is in the Cepheus Universal book. Um, they do not look appropriate to me. Right, so we have a patrol craft. A patrol craft would be much more militarized. TL-12, which would be available on this planet, but I don't think that's really appropriate for us. Then a cargo shuttle, I don't think that makes any sense. 5,000-ton trader, no, that's way too big. A gunboat, maybe, possibly. Uh, a frontier trader is kind of a smaller ship. An assault boat, which is used mostly for direct assaults on planetary or moon installations, that wouldn't be totally inappropriate. Um, So I guess there's that, although that doesn't actually have any interstellar capabilities. Then there's the exploration ship is it's very high level. It's a tech level 16. We don't have any tech level 16 anywhere nearby that I'm aware of. So I don't think that would be it. So I think we're just gonna have to design the thing from the ground up. So let's go ahead and do that. And so we're going to walk through the process. So first, we need to choose a ship hull. I think this is going to be a small ship. I think it makes perfect sense. This is not going to be a very large ship. So first thing first, it's a 100-ton ship. So you know what? I should probably write this on a separate sheet rather than on my session sheet. So let me find that. Now that they're also, do I have one? If I have a shift sheet available, that might be the way to go here, right? Hmm. No, that's not a ship sheet. Let's see. Any spare ship sheets? These are a bunch of old character sheets. A robot sheet and subsector sheet. Nope. All right. So I'm just going to use a sheet of paper. It's fine. But a blank sheet of paper. So the first note, in terms of hull, it's 100 ton. It's a 100-ton hull. That seems uh, reasonable. That's the smallest we can go and still actually be able to have a jump drive on it. Right, so we have that first in terms of, I'm not worried about cost here, but I do need to worry about some of the stats. So it is hull 1 and structure 1. It would take 36 weeks to build this thing, but we're going to assume the ship already exists. Okay. Other things we need to know about it is its configuration. Is it standard or is it streamlined? I imagine this is going to be a streamlined ship. Right, that increases the cost of the hull by 10%. So I'm just going to say that it's streamlined. Make a note of that. All right, armor. I can imagine this being somewhat armored. Um, okay, what does it say? So armor is added in 5% increments of the ship's tonnage. An armored ship decreases radiation exposure from space phenomena by 400 rads. Oh, that's nice. These armor points are on a completely different scale to the armor values used for vehicles and body armor. That's fine. All right, so, hmm, I mean, okay, first thing, we are on a TL13 planet. So that tells us I can use Durasteel, which isn't bad, right? So I get 2 armor points for 5% of the hull. Yes, I do. All right, so I'm going to say armor, 2 points. Then that is also uh, 5 tons, right? So we're down to 95 left. I'll just make a note over here. So we have 95 tons remaining. Other things, it could be self-sealing or it could have stealth. Now, this is supposed to be like a scout kind of ship. I can't imagine that they would necessarily do either of these things. Self-sealing would be nice, as far as that goes. But I don't think they're going to spend a lot on us here, to be perfectly honest. All right. Next thing, I need to figure out what kind of drive they have. Now, I feel like it's very common, right, to have one, like, I'm operating in a world of hyperdrives, is what I'm imagining. So, a hyperdrive or a jump drive. Not like a warp drive like you'd have in like a Star Trek or something like that. The trait here is that for a hyperdrive, the way that this works is that I can move a particular distance in 1 week, right? So I can move up to like 2 parsecs right, within a week, right? So one or two, whatever it is, so whatever the rating is, you drop into hyperspace, you move that far, you pop back out of hyperspace. You're always a week in hyperspace, is the idea. Okay, right. So that is the claim. So my drive code, if I want to have something that can actually jump to, oh, I only need to drive A for that. Oh, nice. Okay. So drive A, we can do 2 parsec jump. All right, that's very nice. And that's going to be 10 tons as well. So I'm down to 85 remaining. Also, I'm going to need an appropriate M drive. Right, so for the M drive, I'm just going to say that it's two. This is a 2-ton M drive. M drive is also A, 2 tons. So I'm down to 83 tons remaining. And then I also need a power plant of appropriate size. And that is also going to be another 4 tons. So I'm down to 79 remaining. All right, cool. So we've got all of that stuff. I also need power plant. Yeah, we've got that there. It's a fusion power plant, apparently. Fuel, calculate the total amount of fuel required for the drives installed on the ship. So, how much fuel do I need? It doesn't actually say. I'm gonna have to. Oh, okay. It depends on the type of drive I have. All right. So, what do we need here? Fuel required. Oh, okay. zero point 0.1 times the whole mass times the FTL rating. Right, so our FTL rating is at 2 times 0.1 times the whole mass. So 200 times 0.1 gives us 20. So I need 20 there, and then I think it's the same. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be basically the same. So I'm going to say fuel is going to be 40 tons. So we're down to 39 remaining tons. All right. Okay. The bridge. The bridge is a minimum of 20 tons. All right. Well, there we go. And then in terms of a computer, I think the computer at least has to be as large as the ship from Beret. Oh wait, the rating indicates the maximum number of targets that can be attacked simultaneously, as well as the highest FTL rating possible. Okay, right. So that means it has to be Model 2, which is going to be another 2 tons. So Model 2 computer. Let's see. I can do survey sensors, countermeasure suite, distributed arrays, life sensors. I don't have the technology for that. And gravimetric sensors. Oh, that's cool. So gravimetric sensors, and it has to be short range, right? Uh, you can apparently like figure out, like get a 3D image of a ship structure, etc. So that's kind of cool. Um, but I need one thing I need to remember is that I'm gonna have to have space to like live. 'Cause, like every ship, after all, is going to need a pilot. Okay, let's go ahead and write over here. I'm gonna need a pilot, which I can't provide that. I'm going to need a navigator, which we can provide that. So that's going to be Hazel. We're going to need an engineer, which again, I can't provide. And it's a good idea to have a medic, which again, I can't provide. And then we also need to have, in addition to these, Wilbur, as well as Garrett, Mr. Perfect. So I need to have space for 6 people to be able to sleep. Right, so let's go ahead and check that. All right, so I need here each stateroom is sufficient for 1 person or 2 if sharing. So it displaces 4 tons. So I'm going to need at least 3 staterooms, right? So, and that's if everybody shares. But I don't. A fourth stateroom means that I basically have no space left. Well, I mean, I guess we'll do that because I can't imagine, right, our pilot slash captain wanting to share a room, right? So that's what I'm imagining is that we actually have 4 staterooms then, which means now we're down to 1 ton remaining. That's it. which that significantly limits the kind of equipment we're going to have. To the point where like we don't actually have room for any additional equipment. That's it. We're just meeting on the bridge. That's it. That's what we've got. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that was fairly straightforward, I suppose. Uh, I do have one. I do have room for a turret then. Right. So I suppose we can have a turret. That's good. That's good. We have one hard point per 100 tons of ship. Some settings are sure troops are 36. Okay. So we can in fact have a turret. Yeah, what do I want? Let's go ahead and just make it say a double turret. What type of gun is going to be on it? Fusion cannon, which can do 2d6 damage and is medium range. All right, so that's our ship. I'm not worrying too much about cost or anything like that. That's something that our patron is handling, so we're not going to worry about it. Cool. So we have our ship, um, all designed. It's going to be like it's a scout ship, right, for this purpose. Right. So next thing I want to do is figure out where we are going to be going to. Right. So that's something we need to figure out. So very important question. So it's a merchant. So possibilities. I'm guessing, right, when you look around, there are a handful of places that it might make sense for us to have some kind of um, trade route or something like that, right? One would be, right, so Masoyama is an A-level star base. Now, from an A-level star base to either a naval base or a star base that is like B or something like that would make sense. It turns out we have two Bs that are also naval star bases. So these two right here, and then there was way down in the corner as well. Right, so both of these. Now for us to be able to make it down here, we'd have to kind of go up and around like so, because there's just like nothing down here, right, in this part of the sector, right? So I'm trying to figure out where this would be. So I guess one fair question is is trying to figure out where we have to go. So are they running into problems in some place that we have already visited? This is going to be an easy question, right? No. As a three, no, no, but technically. Right, no, but it's not too far off. Okay, so that makes sense. So let's try to figure out where that might be. I think the most obvious place here is that we are going to be traveling, right, from here, past here. I think this is where the problem is. 0507. We know very little about it, except what we do know is 0507 7794. So we know a little bit about it. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what this means. So in terms of size, I believe that's not far from Earth-like, if I remember right. Um, there's definitely water on it. Atmosphere of 7, I think might be like tainted, if I recall correctly. Right. Okay, so it is probably okay. Okay. So we got atmosphere yeah, atmosphere of 7, I believe is standard pressure, but the tainted 9 says it's quite wet. That's the hydro, and then population is the 4, right? So there is actually a population here then. Okay. We do know, though, however, that there are no trade codes for this. So this is someplace people just pass by. Also, with it being X, that indicates that there isn't even a starport here, right? So I'm thinking probably what's happening is that this planet or another planet in the system, right, has a moon, which, okay, so let's clarify that. Okay. Is it this planet, the main planet 0507? The answer is yes. Okay, right, so just to write this up, we've got 0507, right, just writing some notes here. 0507, this planet has a moon, which the merchant suspects is the base for pirates who have been attacking them in this area is en route to whatever that is. 0406. And then I'll give names, right, to these planets later, right? Whatever. All right, so I think that that is what we're going to be looking at happening here. I don't think I'm going to do that right now because I think that there's a lot of developing that I want to do in terms of more about this planet, more about, say, who our crewmates are going to be. I'm just going to note here the merchant will provide the other crew members we need, right? So pilot, engineer, medic, those three. All right. So I think that that is what we're looking at here. Cool. I'm pretty happy with this. Pretty happy with this. I think. No complaints. Right. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to call it. So next time, our plan is going to be right to meet our new crew members, perhaps even have a name for the ship that we're all going to be on as we travel, and then check out this moon and this planet and see, like, is this actually where the pirates are or not? We won't know until we get there. For now, this is Prof E signing off.